What is the imposter syndrome? The imposter syndrome is when a person doubts their own achievements and abilities. It's that relentless fear of being exposed as a pretender, a fraud, a fake. The imposter syndrome affects us all. I don't mean us all teachers. I mean us all humans. Anyone in any job can experience this. And I reckon it's pretty common. More common than we might think. As an English teacher, it affects me a lot. And I want to talk about that. Everything I'm about to say, everything in this video should resonate with those of you that teach. Especially those of you that teach languages. But I also think it will strike a chord with anyone that's ever had a job. So keep watching. My best advice is in this video. I have my good days, when I feel confident that I've got a solid grasp of whatever I'm teaching, the content and also how to teach it. I feel self-assured about my teaching. Sometimes. Then there are these other times, I wonder just what the gives me the right? What am I doing here? Why me? Surely someone can do this better than me. I'm not the best person for this job. What do I know? No, really. What do I know about what I'm doing? Do I know enough? Enough to have the responsibility of passing this knowledge on to someone else reliably. Enough to have an impressionable young mind absorb my words with complete trust. Enough to properly prep someone for their exam, their trip abroad, their work presentation, massive things in their lives. Me? That's my responsibility? You're gonna let me do that? What am I doing? Don't belong here. This is a mistake. What do I know? Do I know enough? Why me? This is a mistake. I don't belong here. I don't deserve this.
The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing.
Socrates said that. I know, pretty dramatic, but it drives my point home so well. If you've ever had these negative, self-depreciating thoughts about yourself and your own abilities, then you're very likely on the right tracks. No, really, doubting yourself from time to time is necessary. It's the opposite of complacency. It's natural to those of us who seriously care and are seriously interested in what we do. It's passion. That's the most important thing in any good teacher. For any good anything in any job. Passion. If you've got that, if you've got passion, then the rest is easy. Easy? Well, no, maybe not easy, because there's something that we haven't talked about yet, and that's how our students see us and how that might make us feel. What do students think of us? Actually, in general, students tend to view their teachers much more positively than you might think. They make assumptions, don't they, students? They usually assume that we're prepared, clued up, and in control. And while I think that preparation and clued upness is sort of our responsibility, whether or not we actually feel in control is not always something we can, control. We're human, right? Sometimes we're anxious, we're hesitant, we're a bit unsure. And sometimes we just had a bad day or a bad week and we're feeling a bit fragile. So, okay, what do? Well, we perform, or we act. I think it would be way too ambitious of me to say I'm always in complete control, because that's not true. But I think I can say that most of the time I seem like I'm in complete control. Hold on, though. There's something really, 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 really important about this. There's a massive difference in feigning confidence and control and feigning knowledge. I never pretend to know something that I don't. If a student asks me a difficult question, I tell them, that's a difficult question, and then I quickly try to find the answer online. If I see a word that I've never seen before, I tell the student, I've never seen this word before. I think that being transparent about that sort of stuff, especially being transparent about sort of low frequency words or words you've never seen or words that are a bit archaic and we don't use them anymore. I think, having transparency there, especially as a language teacher, is actually conducive to the students' language progress. It helps them learn better. Let me give you a specific example of this. Petrichor. The earthy and often pleasant smell of rain on dry earth. I'd tell the student that I'd never seen that word before, or that I'd only seen it a couple of times in my whole life, and that it's a really specific concept. I'd tell the student that there are other, simpler ways to express the same idea. This could actually become a nice teachable moment and a little side activity, especially if you notice that the student is interested. You could quickly look up a word's etymology and maybe find out when it was most used and share that with the student. In my experience, honestly, intermediate and above students love that sort of stuff. Lower level students, though, might just appreciate you being a, walking, talking thesaurus and just showing them a simpler way to say it, giving them a synonym. Like, instead of saying petrichor, just say, the smell of rain on dry earth. Simple as that. Okay, I'm just going to go off script for a second because I've just kind of thought about what I've said about that whole petrichor thing, and I can foresee comments in the comment section saying, things like a teacher should always teach students better ways to say things and more academic or more dynamic or colourful vocabulary words. I entirely agree with that. Words like interesting, delicious, good, there are always better ways to express those ideas. With a word like petrichor, something similar to that, it's such low frequency that it's good to let the student know, we don't really use this word much. Or you might see this word in a book. It might be common in literature, or if you're writing an essay, and maybe it's a little bit scientific, or you want to sound a bit more academic, then sure, that's a good word to use. But I just wanted to say that. I'm not saying teach them boring words. I'm saying let them know how much the word is used in, from your own experience. Anyway, so back to what I was talking about before. We can and we should feign confidence, but we shouldn't feign knowledge. So talking about, feigning confidence, it all ties into this concept of the imposter syndrome. So I want to talk a little bit more about something known as the teacher's persona. We are, we're different people around different people. Does that make sense? You don't kiss your boss on the cheek when you say hello, and you don't shake your mum's hand when you're shooting off, do you? Well, maybe in some cultures, one or both of these are true, but anyway, the teacher's persona. The main aspect, I think, of a teacher's persona is confidence, or feigned confidence, right? Think back to a memorable teacher that you've had in your life. A teacher it could be from, nursery or kindergarten, could be from secondary school, high school, primary school, whatever, university, doesn't matter. Just think of a teacher that had, a memorable impression on you and your life. I bet you can now, now that you're older, I bet looking back you can sort of distinguish some teacher-like traits that they had. So thinking about that now, was that their true personality, their teacher's persona, or was it a bit of both? Oh, that's not a rhetorical question. Which one was it? Wrong answer. No, I'm just kidding. It could be any of those answers. But if you do know the answer, it'll put you a step closer to understanding a bit about what kind of teacher you want to be, or what kind of persona you want to adopt. It'll give you a bit of an idea of what sort of elements you want to bring into your own teacher's persona. The way a consistently great teacher behaves, I think, is the result of a well-molded teacher's persona. A consistent teacher's persona as well. If we show inconsistency, it undermines that command and control that we're supposed to have in the classroom. I think it does take time to develop a persona and understand what works for you. I think the goal of a teacher's persona should be, reaching the point where you can use this persona to reach an appropriate level of rapport and maintain a good sort of academic, friendly relationship with students. So think of some characteristics of a teacher's persona which would make sense for you. For me, it's dramatic tension. I like to have a bit of silence or awkwardness in the class just to get students out of their comfort zone and ready to, take risks and overcome challenges. Also, I like to be down to earth. I don't like to be rigid and strict. So that's also part of my persona. And genuine interest as well. I like to, ask questions to students that show that I'm interested in them, in their lives. I don't just ask a student, what do you do? You're an engineer. Okay, cool. No. What kind of engineer are you? What does an engineer do? You're a software engineer. What did you study for that? What's the first thing you do when you get to work? I don't get it. I want you to tell me because I'm interested. Yeah. So those are the parts of my teacher's persona, I think. Next chapter. Being the best teacher you can be. I've got 3 pieces of advice for you. It's important that you know you cannot drown out the imposter syndrome. It comes, it attacks, and it leaves you feeling weak and fraudulent. However, you can knock it back a bit by improving your own self-esteem. Okay, this video is about to get a little bit weird. I'm about to give you 3 tips which you might not think are relevant, but I promise you they are, okay? So try to tune in to what I'm laying down, man. That sounds cool, doesn't it? Do I sound like a cool, hip? No? All right. Tip number 1, record yourself. To record yourself, just start recording on your phone. Put your phone somewhere on your desk and, record yourself. You know how to record yourself, right? If you want to record the classroom, you could use OBS Studio or something like that. That way you can see yourself as the student sees you. However you do it, just record yourself and then watch it back. Watching yourself teach, it's just so mortifying. It's horrible. You will hate it. I hate it so much, but it is useful. You pick up on things you never knew you did. Little distracting habits like touching your nose, playing with your hair, saying good too much, using incidental language. Let's see what we're going to learn about today. Or whatever else. Watching yourself makes you squirm. Honestly, 30 seconds in, you'll close it, you'll delete it, and you'll go and take a shower, and you'll hate yourself. You'll notice things that you need to stop doing. I promise, it helps you a lot. You reflect, you improve, you move on, and then you delete it and take a shower and hate yourself. Number 2, it's going to get a little bit weirder. Physical exercise. What's that got to do with being a good teacher? Look, I'm not about to order you to do 1,000,000 star jumps every day or run 10 kilometers every 3 hours or anything like that. But I think you've got to be active. I'm also not going to tell you why we should be active and healthy, because you know that, you know why it's important. We hear it all the time. We've been hearing it since we were kids. Let me offer you a bit of good news though. You don't need to throw on your spandex and sweat your off for 2 hours just to feel good and be active and be healthy. It's not necessary. All you really need to do is get up from your chair and walk around between classes. Do a little dance. Just keep your body moving when you can. It helps so much. If you have a sedentary week, you're going to feel down. You're going to feel like, teaching one class is like, going 3 rounds in a fight with someone. If you just get up and be active and walk around, it makes you feel so much better. I mean, if you can find time in your day to do a full workout, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, then yeah, cool, do that. But if not, don't stress about it. Sometimes I go through phases where I'll work out a good number of times a week, 3 or 4 times a week. And I do it properly, I put on my workout clothes, I follow a workout thing, I'm doing all the exercises, focusing on my form, got some weights and stuff like that. Yeah, it feels good. Then, other times I go through phases where I just can't really be bothered to do that. It might last for 2 weeks, a month, whatever. But instead I focus on, walking around, staying active, and not just staying stuck in my chair. I really do notice a shift in, how I feel about myself when I've had an active day in comparison to when I've had a sedentary day. Tip number 3 is passion. I hate to sound like a broken record here, but hear me out. Why do you teach? Do you want to teach? Is it just your job? Or is it your vocation? Do you take on the challenge of teaching with pride and with responsibility? Or do you do it just to fund the other areas of your life that you enjoy? My advice would be to try to find your interest in teaching or in whatever you do. Maybe, you once loved teaching and now you just feel like you're burning out, you're teaching too much. Reduce your teaching hours, teach less for a little bit, and get to a position where you feel comfortable, not strained, not stressed. Remember that teaching isn't an innate quality. It's something you have to learn and build on over time. What do you think about the imposter syndrome? Have you experienced it? Comment below. Share your experiences, share your tips, and let's talk about it. If you did make it right to the end of this video, then please consider giving it a like and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching.